everybody, welcome to yet another video. And yes, I've been shopping again. So I've got myself another cheap spray gun, although it does say 2-year warranty on it. Pretty insignificant packaging really, it doesn't really tell you much about the gun. But what's in it is a gun called an Adwards Davis. Now forget the name really, because there's a few different spray guns called Adwards Davis. It's just a made up name. I don't think there's any manufacturer called that. This is going to be made in one of a couple of big Chinese factories. But what's significant about this is, you notice it says V4000. Now I'm thinking of the Ntools 4000B, but the V should give you a clue in that it is actually, hopefully you can see, a 4 split tip. So it's a V configuration tip. So it's V grooves cut in the side of the tip. Just like the NSI Water. I think NSI Water originally did it. Poorfish do it. And Avalon also do it. Although Avalon say it's a U-shaped rather than a V-shaped. But it's quite small, the difference, to be fair. But the idea of this, for me anyway, was to see if it's any better than the Ntools 4000B, because those who watch the channel will know that the Ntools 4000B, for the sort of money it is actually reasonably well made, and it performs reasonably well. And when I say reasonably well, it's not going to perform as good as a $200, $300, $400 gun, but it is going to perform as well as normally a $100 gun, if not, you know, some $200 guns. It's very, very good value for money is basically what it is. So I'm thinking in my head, this could well be a better version of it. I haven't used it yet, I've literally just got it. So let's just run through what you get with it. You get the gun, you also get a spanner, reasonably thick. The reason I say that is because of the shoulder size on the tip. The thicker the spanner, the more evenly it distributes the load when you're actually undoing it, and thus less chance of damaging the tip. You get a normal toothbrush. You get a little washer which actually goes on the end of the adapter, which we'll run through in a second, and you get just one of the filters and a little Allen key. The only thing the Allen key will fit is the air adjustment valve here. There's no other Allen key that size on it that I can see, so that's obviously what that's for, although why you would want to do that I don't know. Yeah, anyway, it is there. But one of the things that I noticed is the swivel they give you, which actually was a Euro fitting, which is what I use, is it's actually it's a swivel. So it's on a swivel, not like a rotation, not a 360 degrees one, but just on a swivel. And that's where that little white washer or seal goes. It just butts up against there to seal it. So that would be interesting to use. I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing really. I've never used one. I don't know whether it'll annoy me or not, but we'll see anyway. So what I wanted to do in this video is just bring you the differences between the Ntools and this, the Adwards Davis. But one of the things that I noticed with the Adwards Davis is that it looked very much like the Poorfish, the PHS 135. Now, it's not the same, but one of the things, you get a pot with the Adwards Davis, one of the things you will notice is that the pot has a female thread. So it's the opposite to most guns, and it's certainly opposite to the Ntools 4000B. The 4000B has an M16 by 2.0 metric thread. This one has an M16 by 1.5 metric thread, but it's the opposite way round. So it's male on the gun, so it will take a female fitting. Now that happens to be the same as the PHS 135. It also happens to be the same as the LPH 400 and W400 series Iwaters. So plenty of different cups and fittings available for this gun, which isn't the case with the 4000B. We'll do a spray out later on, just see what the pattern's like. I haven't used this yet, as I said, but I have actually just whipped it apart to see what the differences are between these guns. And one of the things you will notice is that both the caps from the PHS 135 and the 4000B will fit on the Adwards Davis, but they're a little bit loose. Now it won't go all the way down because the tip is actually wider. The split tips are always wider at this part here, so the recess in the center of the cap, as you can see there, is always going to be bigger, or hopefully you can see it's bigger, to allow that tip to come through. So it's never going to fully tighten up because it would just squash the tip, but the threads are the same pitch. The diameter of these are a little bit bigger, and the upshot of it is that the cap of the PHS 135 and the 4000B will fit on the Adwards Davis, but obviously not properly because of that tip. Now the setup on the Ntools is completely different. So if we just look at the Ntools, so it's not an Ntools 4000B with a split tip basically, and you're not going to be able to swap the tip and the cap over on the Ntools because the tip, I am pulling that back by the way so that the needle's not in contact with the tip. The tip is actually different in that the sealing ring on the Ntools is actually in the gun. As I said before, you see that nylon seal at the back, and that's how it actually seals. Whereas on the 4000B, again I'm pulling the trigger back, on the 4000B it does exactly the same as the PHS 135, and a lot of guns, Sarters, loads of guns use a seal on the end of the actual tip itself. Now what is interchangeable is the tip on the PHS. So bear in mind all the caps will fit the Adwards Davis, but the Adwards Davis cap won't fit either the Ntools or the PHS 135. And the reason for that is because the diameter is slightly smaller, so it will allow the bigger caps to go on the smaller head, but it won't allow the smaller cap to go on the bigger head basically, because it just doesn't want to tighten up. Having said that, it's done that. Well, yeah, that has done that. No, forget that. That has actually gone on there. I did try it earlier and it didn't. Maybe I didn't have it lined up, but it has actually gone on there. So let's try this one then. Ah, okay, so it's the 4000B it won't go on, so it'll go on the PHS but not the 4000B. That doesn't matter really. All I'm thinking is that if you've got one of these or something like that, maybe the tip and the cap from this from the Adwards Davis would actually fit these. If the gun body was better and you had a better tip and cap, it might be worth buying just for that. But the only thing really that is fully interchangeable is the tip, because the tip on the Adwards Davis and the PHS 135, apart from the bigger end and the fact that the Adwards Davis has the flutes, the V cutouts, they're the same, fully interchangeable. I've tried it in there, and as you've seen, the cap is actually interchangeable as well. So you could in theory fit the front end of the Adwards Davis onto your PHS 135, but not on the Ntools. Baffle's very similar as well. So it's not the same gun at all, but certainly interchangeable. But what I'll do is I'll put a camera on my head and we'll see what the pattern of this is, and I will bring you a proper review of it. Won't be too long, hopefully. Sorry, I'm losing my voice, talking too much. It's about the fourth take this is, because things keep happening around me. Anyway, so I'll put this together and we'll do one of our spray outs and see what we can see pattern wise. And then, as I say, I'll get you a proper review of this up, hopefully not too long. But yeah, I thought I'd get it because it's not expensive and it's, well, it could be good, couldn't it? All right then. I'm going to use this at 2 bar. This is the split tip gun, obviously. The fluid in here is actually a clear coat with some red tinter. And the idea of that is just so that it makes it easier to see it on a white background, which is obviously the colour of the paper. Now, the viscosity of this, different viscosities spray differently. I'll put a link in the description to a video I did on setting up your spray gun, and it will show you what the different viscosities do to the fan pattern, etc. But for this video, and for all the spray up videos I do, we're using a Ford 4 cup, and it's taking 18 seconds to go through a Ford 4 cup, which is pretty standard viscosity for most clear coats. And it's simply, you fill it up with the material up to the top, wait for the material to flow through the cup, and the time that takes is the time that I'm giving you, which is the 18 seconds. And the reason it's called a Ford 4, a DIN 4 cup, is because there's a 4mm hole in the centre there, and that's what it drains through. And that is how your viscosity is measured. When you look at technical data sheet, you will often see that, well, always see that it will give you 18 seconds, 20 seconds, 30 seconds, whatever, on a Ford 4 cup, and that's your measuring device. Really cheap if you're unsure, worth getting one just to try things out. So that's the material we got in the gun, and we're going to do a couple of spray outs, just see the size of the pattern we get. I need my trusty iWater spanner. Right, iWater spanner, which is 7 inches, 175mm. I haven't used the gun yet, so I have no idea whether this is going to be a big eye pattern or whether it's going to be quite a squat pattern, but we'll see anyway. I know, it's definitely an eye pattern. You can actually see, this is a 1.3, you can see that it's not putting out loads of material, which is typical for a split tip gun. They always tend to put out less material. I've got it set at 2 bar. Yeah, no, that seems a reasonable pattern. I've got it set at 2 bar. If when we hook up the Ntools 4000B and the gauge is showing a higher reading, I won't touch the gauge, only apart from screwing it on and off. The gauge is showing a higher reading. It means that the Ntools is using less air than this. And vice versa. If it's a lower setting when I put it on the Ntools, then it means that the Ntools is actually using more air. So that's our pattern. I'm going to do a sideways pattern, which I've started doing. It seems like a good idea because you can see the distribution of the material. See whether it's top heavy, bottom heavy, etc. So pull it over and spanner. Wait for that to drop. You can see it's dropping pretty evenly, so it's actually a good even pattern. Right, I'll take this, I'll just leave this a few seconds, let this run down, and then I'll take it off and put it down, and we'll put another sheet up and try the Ntools 4000. Ntools 4000B. So as I said before, let's pull the trigger and see where we are with this gauge. Slightly over 2 bar, which means this is using slightly less air. So I suspect that the V4000 is going to be about 12.5 to 13 CFM, which is quite a bit, but that's at 2 bar, so 29 psi. But it might not need 29 psi when we use it. Normally the split tip guns, you will often be able to use them at a lower pressure. But this loves 2 bar, 29 psi, and works really well. So let's get into that. Let's ease it off a little bit. That's it. Guns are all on full fan, full fluid at the set pressure. So let's see what this one's like. Give us an idea, and then I'll get the cards down, and we'll have a look at them and see how they differ. We'll do one at an angle. Now, I'm not sure how this is going to perform, because this is a big cup and these are gravity fed guns. putting it on its side might not be too good, so I might do it at a slight angle. I'll try and get it like that, but if the fluid obviously runs away, it's not going to pick it up. But let's try, shall we? Yeah, that worked okay. It's not too bad, but if it's slightly off, it'll be because I had to tilt the gun slightly. But no, that seems to be a good even pattern, which you'd expect. This is a good gun, and that's definitely a good even pattern. Looking at the two, they're quite similar. The 4000B's definitely got a bigger pattern, but I'll get this down and we'll just have a little look, and then we'll wrap the video up. You can definitely see that the Ntools, the 4000B, it's more of a centre weighted pattern. I mean, they're both centre weighted. Now the time that I pull the trigger, I don't time it, but I've been doing this for quite a while, and it's going to be about the same. And you can actually see that the amount of material that's been put out by the 4000B is more, and you would fully expect that, because the V-tipped guns normally have finer atomization, but they're not as wet, simply because there's not as much material going through the gun. So they're a bit slower, but they normally produce better results. As I say, I haven't used it yet. It's the first time I put anything through it. But looking at the two patterns, it's definitely a more even spread here. Obviously, both of these are overloaded, but it's definitely more of an even spread here. But they're both even patterns. I know, hopefully you know how good this thing is for the money. So we may well have found a smoother, finer atomizing 4000B, but we won't know until I actually try and use it. But certainly, yeah, both patterns look good. Size wise, the full pattern is around about 11 inches, which is what, 29 centimeters, 290 mil, and that's about 10.5, so slightly smaller pattern on the V4000, but certainly less center weighted. I know obviously the wetness is in the center, but you would expect that normally from a spray pattern, but less, that is definitely very center weighted, whereas this is much more evenly spread. As I say, it has been overloaded, and that was on purpose. But yeah, definitely looks like it's a promising gun. Well, we will see, won't we? Cheers, guys. Thanks as always for watching. If you are enjoying the videos, maybe think about giving us a thumbs up, and why not push the button and subscribe. Cheers, guys. Bye bye.